Since 2013, China has been investing money worldwide to realize President Xi Jinping's Belt and Road Initiative. However, among the multi-billion-dollar super projects, many have turned into economic disasters, leaving countries borrowing from the mainland in debt. So what are China's biggest debt-trap super projects? S video, let. As the Sri Lankan civil war was nearing its end, President Mahinda Rajapaksa wanted to transform Hambanoda, his impoverished hometown, into a world-class tourism and commercial center. Immediately, China expressed interest in this island nation. In January 2008, a joint venture of Sino Hydro Group and Chinese port machinery company CHRC won the contract for the first phase of Hambanoda deep sea port construction, while Sri Lanka would provide project supervision engineers. Regarding funding, China's Export-Import Bank contributed about 85% of the total $361 million cost for this phase, with Sri Lanka covering the remaining 15%. But to obtain that loan, this South Asian country had to accept CHRC building the port, a typical requirement China also applies to many other countries worldwide. The port began operations in November 2010 with a total construction cost of about $1.5 billion. Despite China's promises that Hambanoda would be the largest land-built port in the 21st century, it actually became an economic disaster for Sri Lanka. Although tens of thousands of ships passed through the area, the port attracted only 34 ships in 2012. By 2016, the Hambanoda superport generated profits of just $1.81 million, while Sri Lanka had to pay China nearly $1.7 billion, including both principal and interest. With poor performance and losses, the Sri Lankan government considered selling this project back to the mainland. As a result, by 2017, the government signed a $1.12 billion agreement allowing China Merchant Port Holdings to operate Hambanoda Port for 99 years. Under this agreement, Sri Lanka agreed to sell 70% of the port's shares and use the money to repay its debt to China. Thus, the Beijing government gained control of Hambanoda, a strategically significant deep-sea port in the Indian Ocean. As soon as the agreement was signed, there was strong criticism because many believed this place would ultimately become a Chinese colony. Many people in the capital Colombo took to the streets to protest, suspecting Beijing might turn Hambanoda deep-sea port, capable of accommodating the world's largest cargo ships, into a military base. The dam in Ecuador has 17,000 cracks. In 2010, the Coca-Codo-Sinclair hydroelectric dam on the Coca River in Ecuador's Napo province began construction. This giant dam in the rainforest was funded and built by China with the goal of satisfying the Ecuadorian government's ambition to address energy needs and help lift this South American country out of poverty. When he heard this news, Fernando Santos, former Ecuadorian energy minister in the 1980s, said he couldn't believe it. Because the Reventador volcano has been erupting since the Spanish arrived in this land in the 16th century. Therefore, in the 1980s, officials have rejected even small-scale hydroelectric projects. In 1987, a major earthquake destroyed oil infrastructure in the area. Not only that, the initial plant capacity was about 1,000 megawatts, but during construction, the actual capacity reached 1,000. This caused costs to skyrocket and increased capacity beyond the river's energy supply capability. Specifically, this project was carried out by CINNOHITRO with an initial cap, but when completed, the total cost had risen to $2.6 billion, with $1.7 billion coming from China. Despite being located right below a volcano, the dam was still built and was nearly twice the size of projects rejected decades earlier. When it was inaugurated in 2016, Chinese President Xi Jinping. However, just 2 days before the visit, chaos occurred when engineers ran the dam at full 50, but neither it nor Ecuador's power grid could handle it. The dam's turbines surged and widespread blackouts occurred, so afterward the dam typically operated at only half of its machinery system due to substandard steel and CINNOHITRO. Sand and silt were also major concerns, as they could damage important equipment. To address this, engineers frequently released large amounts of water to clean the system, causing flash floods in the hull. Despite the dam's poor quality, Ecuador still had a $1.7 billion loan from China. In interest alone, Ecuador owed $125 million. Things didn't stop there, as the situation worsened when by 2020 the Coca River area began experiencing landslides. Land erosion caused the iconic San Rafael waterfall to dry up, while 2 oil pipeline systems ruptured. As a result, in 2021 Ecuador decided to sue CINNOHITRO and bring the case to the International Court in Chile. By 2023, the number of cracks at the Coca-Codo-Sinclair Dam had reached over 17,000. Ecuador tried to prevent this situation but failed. They attempted to place shipping containers to slow erosion, but all were quickly washed away. One solution is to relocate the plant's water intake, but this would require a significant amount of money. It can be seen that this dam has become part of a national scandal that has plunged the country into corruption, dangerous debts, and a dead future. Many are linked to China. Almost all of Ecuador's top officials involved in the project have been imprisoned or convicted for bribery, including the vice president, the minister of energy, and even the anti-corruption official overseeing the project. Uganda's railway dream. In 2015, the Ugandan government signed a $2.2 billion contract with China Harbour Engineering Company, CHEC, to build a standard gauge rail. This is part of President Yoweri Museveni's strategy to turn the capital of this East African country into a transportation hub in the region. Specifically, this railway line is 273 kilometers long, running from Uganda's capital Kampala to the town of Tororo on the border with its eastern neighbor Kenya. Thus, trains departing from Kampala can travel to the capital Nairobi or further to the port city of Mombasa in Kenya on the Indian Ocean coast. However, in 2017, the Chinese Road and Bridge Corporation had already completed a 592 kilometers railway line in Kenya connecting Mombasa and Nairobi. It was worth $3.6 billion, with 90% of the funding coming from the Export-Import Bank of China, and was a success of the belt. In 2018, this railway line transported 1.6 million passengers. The reason CHEC deliberately delayed was that if Kenya did not build the connecting section to the Ugandan border or the project was not implemented in time, it would ultimately not reap significant benefit. Frustrated by China's indifference in funding the project, in December 2022, Uganda sent a letter to China Harbour Engineering Company expressing its intention to cancel. By January 13, 2023, a senior official from Uganda's Ministry of Works and Transport stated that the country had officially terminated the contract. Thus, Uganda's dream of becoming a regional transportation hub has failed to materialize, at least in the near future, because it is still uncertain whether Kenya will deploy the railway line connecting to the Ugandan border. Meanwhile, in the southern neighbor Tanzania, the Turkish construction company Yapı Merkezi helped build a 1,219 kilometers standard gauge railway line, facilitating trade connecting Tanzania with neighboring countries, including Uganda. Notably, the cost proposed by the Turkish company was only half that of China. Therefore, Uganda stated it was very impressed with Yapı Merkezi's work in Tanzania and had signed a memorandum of understanding for cooperation with this company. Airport in Angola serves 15 million passengers. In 2002, Angola ended a 27-year-long civil war and was eager to upgrade infrastructure and attract more foreign investment. Therefore, in 2004, the government launched a project to build a new airport near the capital Luanda, officially named Dr. Antonio Agostinho Neto International Airport. At that time, President José Eduardo dos Santos authorized the China International Fund and the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht to jointly implement it. This airport has a total of 31 boarding decks and is expected to handle 15 Specifically, this new airport is located in the town of Bom Jesus in the municipality of Ibango, Luanda province, about 40 kilometers southeast of the capital. It will gradually replace the February 4th International Airport, which has been operating since 1954 and is located in the southern part of Luanda City. According to the initial plan, the airport was to be put into use in 2012, but was then postponed to 2015 and delayed again to 2017. The repeated delays in opening were due to financial difficulties faced by the government and the airport construction. Not only that, due to design flaws and quality issues, the China National Aerotechnology Import and Export Corporation took over the contract from the original. Additionally, during the project, Angolan construction workers protested against the project primarily using Chinese. Due to the prolonged construction period, the airport's design became outdated, and its functions and technical equipment could not meet the demands of the airport. Therefore, the airport was temporarily postponed until 2022 for commissioning and required updating the design drawings. But due to construction delays and the COVID-19 pandemic, the project continued to be postponed, and it was not until November 10, 2020 that the new airport in the capital Luanda officially began operation. Specifically, Dr. Antonio Agostino Neto International Airport has an 160,000 square meters, a 6,200 square meters cargo terminal, and is situated on a total area of 50. This airport can handle 35,000 tons of cargo and serve 15 million passengers annually, including 5 million domestic and 10 million international. The total construction cost is estimated at about $3.8 billion. However, this figure does not include additional infrastructure such as shops, aircraft hangars, restaurants, offices, and nearby hotels.
Although modern and grand, this project is evaluated as not highly efficient.
In 2018, the old airport at the capital Luanda served 5.6. In the same year, Angola welcomed 218,000 international tourists. Therefore, the new airport is too large and truly cannot be efficient in the short term. Moreover, China's loans have even worsened the corruption situation in this African country. While the ruling class lives luxuriously in the Riviera coastal area of the capital Luanda, up to 70% of Angolans have to live on less than $2 per day in spending. Dam in Pakistan forced the halt of. Since 1989, the Pakistani government has approved the Neelam Jalan hydropower plant.
Specifically, a plant would be built in Azad, Kashmir, 42 kilometers south of the capital Muzaffarabad.
This project will transfer water from the Neelam River to the power. Initially, the project was scheduled to start in 2002 and be completed by 2000. However, due to lack of funds, it was not. Moreover, in 2005, the 7.6 magnitude Kashmir earthquake, resulting in 86,000 deaths, tens of thousands hit. Therefore, the Neelam Jalan hydropower plant project was reconsidered to comply with stricter. By 2007, a consortium including the Gajoba Group and China National Machinery Import and Export Corporation. By February 2008, the project commenced with an estimated cost of $935 million. However, after 3 years of construction, the figure had tripled to $2.8. Nevertheless, the dams still face numerous issues such as delays in fund disbursement, poor weather conditions, lack of electricity during the initial construction phase, and difficulties in land acquisition. It wasn't until October 2017 that all construction works, including tunnel drilling, generator and turbine installation, were completed. But the subsequent reservoir filling phase was protested by the. They feared this would significantly reduce the flow of the Neelam River to the city. But despite the protests, the Neelam Jalan hydropower dam began operations in April 28. 4 months later, all 4 turbines of the plant were operational, reaching the maximum generation. However, by this time, the project had cost $5.1 billion, much higher than the initial. Despite such enormous costs, it still caused a series of problems. From increased urban temperatures to water shortages and sediment, particularly in Muzaffarabad city, home to 190,000 people who experienced hot. Sattar Abbas, Deputy Director of the Azad Kashmir Environmental Protection. The Neelam River once served as an effective cooling system for the. People used to gather along the banks throughout the summer when the weather was. But since the river was diverted, its heat absorption capacity has decreased by more than half during the hot. After protesters camped for 2 months near the confluence of the two. The Prime Minister of Pakistan directed national water resource officials to inspect the project site to assess the dam's impact. They stated the project lacked an in-depth study on potential risks it could hold to the local climate. While the average summer temperature in Muzaffarabad and surrounding areas has increased by 4 to 5 degrees Celsius since the Neelam River was diverted. Not only that, the project encountered a serious incident in July 2022. Pakistani officials shut down the Neelam Jalan hydropower plant after discovering water leaks in the tunnel transporting water through the mountain to Tausif Farooqi, head of Pakistan's Power Regulatory Authority, expressed concern that the tunnel might collapse just 4 years after operation. He stated this would be a disaster for a country already severely affected by rising energy prices. According to the authority, the plant's closure cost Pakistan about $44 million per month due to high electricity prices since July. The subsequent repairs took over a year with approximately $21.6 million, and the plant resumed operations on August 9, 2023. In addition, the country incurred about $133.2 million in losses during maintenance and testing mode. Yet on April 3, 2024, the power generation capacity from the Neelam Jalan power plant was limited to 530 MW. By May 3, 2024, power generation from the hydropower plant was halted again for inspection and further troubleshooting. Malacca Gateway, Malaysia's artificial islands. This is an offshore complex located off the coast of Malacca City, situated in the western part of the Malay Peninsula. It was launched on February 7, 2014, by Malaysian Prime Minister Najib Razak. Malacca Gateway consists of 3 artificial islands and 1 natural island, covering an area of 2.46 square kilometers.
In 2016, this large-scale project was awarded to KHD, a leading Malaysian consortium that would hold a 51% stake.
1 year later, KHD decided to collaborate with Chinese companies Power China International Group, Shenzhen Yantian Port Group and Rizhao Port Group to jointly develop the project. Specifically, the first 3 islands would be developed by KHD and Power China for tourism, commercial, real estate, and maritime park, while the 4th island, Pulau Malacca, would become a maritime operations center with container ports and ship repair facilities. Along with the Maritime Industrial Zone invested by KHD, the Guangdong Provincial Government of China, and Chief Minister Incorporated, an entity under the state of Malacca. According to the initial plan, the project was to be completed but it was delayed after Prime Minister Najib was accused of misappropriating $4.5 billion from a government-run development fund.
As a result, he lost the 2018 election. The winner was Mahathir Mohamad, who proceeded to renegotiate projects with China.
Meanwhile, KHD CEO Michelle Long stated that the role of Chinese contractors in the Malacca Gateway project had been exaggerated, as the actual cooperation ended in 2019. KHD CEO also denied that the Malacca Gateway project was part of the Belt and Road Initiative, and stated it only aimed to benefit from China's proposed Maritime Silk Road. After all these challenges, in November 2020, the local government decided to cancel the Malacca Gateway project due to lack of progress after the massive Nicaragua Canal project.
In 2013, the Nicaragua Canal project began planning with total investment capital reaching $50 billion.
Therefore, the construction and operation license was granted to Chinese billionaire Wang Jing, chairman and CEO of Beijing Xinhui. As planned, this project would allow ships with loads of up to 250,000. Meanwhile, the Panama Canal, although in the final stages of upgrade, only allows ships from 65,000 to 80,000 tons. Despite great potential, this project faced many opposing opinions. Many opposed the contract's transparency because the Nicaraguan government granted management rights to the Chinese company without bid. Moreover, Mr. Wang Jing had no civil construction experience as his career. Additionally, economists doubted the project's profitability. If both Panama and Nicaragua canals operated simultaneously, it would lead to excess capacity, forcing both to reduce fees to compete, reducing project efficiency. Environmentalists worry the canal crossing southern Nicaragua would destroy nature reserves, home to 22 endangered species. Even worse, the project could contaminate Lake Cochabamba, Central America's largest freshwater source. Nicaraguan farmers also worried because the project would force about 120,000 people to relocate from farming areas. In 2014, shortly after the groundbreaking ceremony, thousands gathered to protest the government's land acquisition plan. Subsequently, many protests erupted at local and national levels. By 2018, a violent clash occurred, resulting in 320 deaths. 3 farmers leading the protests were later sentenced to 216, 210, and 159 years in prison respectively.
They were charged with inciting a coup against the government. That situation wasn't.
In 2015, his assets decreased by 85%, from $10.2 billion to about $1.5 billion. On April 19, 2024, his Beijing Xinhui Group officially went bankrupt. About a month later, the Nicaraguan government cancelled preferential policies for the Chinese company. After 10 years, the canal started construction but still hasn't produced any result.
It can be seen that some of China's megaprojects are very inefficient.
But IMF stated that 35% of Belt and Road Initiative projects are encountering problems, such as corruption, labor law violations, environmental issues, and protests. Experts believe many developing countries prefer loans and projects from the mainland because they don't impose conditions on budget, finance, environment, humanitarian,
or require strict and transparent management. While China has consumed large amounts of excess cement and steel,
while bringing lucrative projects to state-owned enterprises, some countries unable to repay debts had to mortgage by surrendering national assets, such as ports, mineral mines, hydro. Therefore, the Belt and Road Initiative is accused of being a debt trap, aimed at helping the mainland achieve economic and geopolitical. Looking at the list of countries owing China the most in 2020, the top 3 names are Pakistan, Angola, and Sri Lanka. Therefore, Nicaragua's cancellation of the $50 billion canal project can be considered fortunate for this Central American country. And above are China's largest debt trap megaprojects. If you want us to cover any topics, please leave comments below.
Hello and see you in the next videos.
Please subscribe to the Guian Migo channel to not miss exciting